High ready versus low ready. Which one's better? Is one better than the other, or are they just used for different applications? To answer that and understand it, we have to break it down into 4 parts. First part's gonna be our why. Why do we use one versus the other? The next part's gonna be the what. That's gonna be our time standards for each version, and then also how to set up and what that means. Then we'll discuss the how, break that down into our step-by-step process, and then lastly, we're gonna discuss what is actually gonna make you slower when you do this, and how to avoid it to be faster. So why do we use the high ready versus the low ready? Well, that's one of those things we've been talked about, and you can look at it historically. Some people will argue that the low ready is better or the high ready is better, or they'll say, well, high ready is for Navy guys and low ready is for Army guys. And that's a bunch of crap, right? And one of the reasons they used to say that was, well, they use high ready because they don't want to shoot the bottom out of a boat. And, you know, Army guys will say, well, we use low ready because we're in helicopters. I don't think, maybe at one time, but I don't really think any of that has a lot of truth to it. It really comes down to techniques and how you do stuff, right? But what we can say is we know there's a few definitive differences between the two, right? The low ready, we're always going to be a little bit faster because the rifle is just pointed down with the butt stuck in the shoulder. With the high ready, the rifle is pointed up, but yet it's tucked underneath the arm a little bit. Well, maybe it takes us 15 hundredths of a second on average if we train the two equally to execute the high ready. But what you get is you get a little bit tighter up in, say, a stack, right? For those people that are doing CQB, or you're just working in and around people. There's advantages and disadvantages to both. And there's really no one right answer for we always do this or we always do that. Stuff like this, there's not a whole lot of definitives, right? So if you feel in that time or that moment that high ready is best for you, then use it. And if you feel in that moment that low ready is best for you, well, do that. And if you train one and that's how you guys work and that's what you majority do, then do it. So from my background, I was in the Army. So what we did was we used to do a lot of high ready stuff and this and that, but we kind of moved to a modified low ready where we keep that gun down like this, butt stock in the shoulder. And if we need to save that space, then we just bring the butt stock up here and we do room entries a little bit differently, right? Again, one is not right and one is not wrong. So we're going to show you both of them. So understanding that and understanding where it kind of comes from and which one to use or why we do them, now we need to talk about the what. So what exactly are our time standards and what is the setup? Well, I said it a second ago. Our low ready, what we're looking for from about 5 meters, and you'll see our target out here, it's about a 3-inch square, right at 5 meters. We're looking for right at a second, right? With that high ready, we're looking at about 1.15. And the reason for that being is that when we present the rifle from that low ready, all it has to do is come straight up and stop on target. With the high ready, and you'll see it in a minute, we're going to push the gun out. The buttstock is not in the shoulder. It's got to clear our garments, level out, and then settle back into the shoulder. So we say that takes about an average of 15 hundredths of a second. That's our time standards. Can you be faster than that? Absolutely. And there's guys that are super quick at it, right? Well, within reason, okay? We'll show you what to set up, what not to do here in a second. But with high ready, can you be fast too? Absolutely. If you train one more than the other, you could say, I'm faster at the high ready than I am with the low ready. Yeah, maybe it's because you train it more often. No big deal, okay? So we're gonna break these two down now. So let's go ahead and start with our low ready. So getting the rifle out, we understand, okay? We understand we're gonna get our good shooting stance, everything's good to go. And what we always wanna do first is we wanna find that good final firing position, right? So what do we mean by that? I know this is where I wanna end up, right here. This is my good final firing shooting position, and whatever I do, this is where I want to end. And with the low ready, here's the big part, we have to bring the weapon down. I want to bring that weapon down so it's pointed maybe 30 degrees or something like that. Some people say 45, but a good simple rule of thumb is, can I keep my head up and turn my chin over the buttstock? That's your low ready setup. The reason we say turn your chin over the buttstock is simply to get your eyes out of your sights. Because what happens a lot of times is people have the gun here and they're like, yeah, okay, low ready. They're like, okay, got it. But that's not a low ready because your eyes, you can still see the sights. And people say, well, I'm looking over the top of my sights. Well, not for very long you're not. Because we know that this sight right here, this is a black hole, okay? This is a black hole for your eyes. If your eyes pick up on this, they're gonna stay in it. And what do we see a lot? We see a lot of new people that say they go through a shoot house, right? They have that gun at the low ready and they're just looking down at the ground through the sight the whole time, especially after they clear that first room. They kind of forget about it. So we say be able to turn your chin over the buttstock was something that I learned when I was in the Army from a senior guy. And that's just to make sure we don't get stuck in our sights. We don't stay in our sights. Well, that rolls us into why staying in our sights bad. Well, it's bad because what do you do on the range every time you put your sights on target? You pull the trigger. And if you're training as a professional who carries a firearm, whether that's military and law enforcement or whatever, or you're just a patriot of this country and you're a good citizen and you train on this stuff, if you ever have to use this in a home defense situation or a raid or a CQB situation or whatever it may be, do you want to put your sights on something that shouldn't have been shot and you accidentally pull the trigger because that's what you're used to, because you stayed in your sights while you were scanning or as you were presenting or whatever it may be? No, that's called a massive liability. And we don't want to shoot things that shouldn't be shot. So simple trick for that is get your damn eyes out of your sights. You're going to process information better. You're going to search, scan, and assess better. You're going to do all these things better. And it's really not going to cost you any time. It's going to set you up for success. So again, get your eyes out of your sights. All right, so we know that. Again, getting that out, right? All I'm doing, mounting the gun, good final firing position, and all I'm gonna do is bring that gun down to here so I can turn my chin over the buttstock. That's it. That's that low ready starting position. Now for the high ready. High ready is similar, but kind of the opposite, right? So instead of bringing, keeping the buttstock pin here and being down, I'm just gonna be up that little bit. So what we like to say for setup for the high ready position, and for those that like to use it, is that if I have my sling, right, however you set your sling up, we like ours close to the receiver here, outside the buttstock here. When I'm holding onto this rifle, I have a few inches of slack. I know that that'll give me enough space so that to clear my garments and my kit and everything else to bring that rifle up. It gives me just enough room. And if I do get tired, you can kind of let the gun hang, right? But we just want a little bit of slack in the sling. So, second point of that, inside of the elbow, outside of the buttstock. This way I can kind of control the gun with one arm if I need to, or I can pin it to my side. This hand, I'm going to put it right where it normally goes, and all I'm going to do is be looking at the muzzle or my hand, and so all I have to do is punch my hand straight out and settle right back in. That's going to allow me to go ahead and set up, and everything's going to be correct. Or, excuse me, that's going to allow us to execute the drill properly, the presentation of this ready position correctly. So again, buttstock inside of the elbow gives me a little bit of control, pin if I want, move it out if I need to, hand goes where it's going to, and I'm just going to look right off the muzzle and kind of keep that right in my line of sight. So all I have to do is when I get set up here, I'm going to slacken the sling, press out, and settle back. So that's our two setup positions. So one thing to remember with both the low ready and the high ready: gun moves around you, you don't move around it. This is not a high ready, okay? It's not a ready position at all because the muzzle's pointed straight forwards. This is a low ready, the muzzle is down. This is a high ready, the muzzle's up. If I need to move this up more, I just push the buttstock down and bring the muzzle up slightly. That's it. The gun moves around you, you don't move around it. So we see this a lot. Guys will set up and they start moving their body and contorting their body in weird ways and doing all this stuff. It's like, stop, man. You don't need to do that if you're getting in a tight space. Just move the gun. That's why God gave it to you. Just move it around. Okay, you're in charge of it, and that's all. So we understand our setup. We understand our time standards. Again, that's 1 second for low ready and about 1.15 for high ready at about 5 meters on a 3-inch square. That's our setup, and that's what we're going to do. So understanding that, now we need to go ahead and get into the actual process and how we're going to do it. So we got all that down. We're ready to shoot, right? So before we actually shoot and before we go live, I'm going to go ahead and talk through the process. Process being is pretty similar for both. It's up, prep, press for low ready, and high ready, it is out, prep, press. So what does that mean? Well, from the low ready, I'm saying up because I got to bring the muzzle up. From the high ready, I'm saying out because you got to bring the muzzle out, right? What does prep mean? On the way out and onto the target, you've already decided I have to put my sights on target and shoot this target. So I'm going to go ahead and prep the safety, prep the trigger. That means as I flick the gun on fire, using the movement of the gun with my thumb staged, as I do that, my finger goes to the trigger, feels the wall, and it's ready to fire as soon as my sights cross that mark, right? As soon as I see them on the target. Out, prep, press. And what does press mean? It just means press the trigger. That's it. Out, prep the safety, prep the trigger, press. Press the trigger and fire that round right where you want it. So that's our focal cues. So what does that mean? Do you have to use those exactly? No, but give yourself 3 cues. Those are the ones that we like and we say in class to actually perform the process. Pick whatever you want if you need something different and that works better for you. If you're working on something certain or something specifically, like I keep not clearing my garments from a high ready, we'll think more out, right? Like clear, think something like that. It doesn't matter, but find 3. You can use these if you want. All right, let's go ahead and dry run it real quick, and then we will go live. So, starting off, sights on, everything's good. I'm gonna go ahead and load up my pistol, just so I don't have to do it in a minute. We will load the rifle here in a second. So, we're gonna go ahead and dry fire this. I'm gonna see what that looks like, and I'm gonna go ahead and talk through the 3 different steps and demonstrate low ready and demonstrate high ready. Then we'll shoot it live. So, looking at that. Clear, everything's good. All right. So again, first thing, find that good final firing position right here. That's good. I'm gonna bring the gun down so I can turn my chin over the buttstock, and I know that's low enough. Now, up, prep, press. So what does that look like nice and easy? As I bring the gun up, nothing's moving but my arms and the rifle. Up as I prep, safety and trigger, same time, and then take that shot at the end. Do it again, reset, same thing. Up, prep, press. And that's all we're gonna do. So that's our low ready. Going back to it, high ready, same thing. We've already discussed it. Out, prep, press. Make sure it's charged so we got that good click. Starting here, slack, good, stand by. I'm gonna go ahead and press straight out with this hand right here. As I do, the gun is naturally gonna flatten out, and as it does, I put it on fire. As it settles into my shoulder, then I can go ahead and take that shot when my sight is where I want it to be. Again, one more time. Contact point on the buttstock, hand where it needs to go. I can see my muzzle or my hand, whichever one you want, and I'm gonna press straight out. As I do, clearing garments or anything else, especially if you have rubber underneath your buttstock, they can get caught on jackets and straps and stuff like that. So I press out, prep, press, and we're good to go. Pretty simple stuff. The big thing is going to be that it takes reps, right? So let's go ahead. I'm going to turn the shot timer on. I got the pistol loaded up. All right. Cut. So everything's all loaded up. Good to go. Timer. Let's start with the low ready first. Let's go at a nice, even, easy speed that we can talk through it. Then we'll go ahead and do full. So this will be a methodical demo. Stand by. Up, prep, press. Nice and easy speed on that, 165, right? And we're talking through it. Let's do it again, same time, talking through. Stand by. Good, 1.17. We'll do it one more time, then we'll go at full speed. Talking through, stand by. Up, prep, and press. And a 143. Can we go fast on that? Absolutely, right? Just nice and easy, getting it down, understanding the motion that it takes to do it. Now let's go ahead and do it at speed. Check this out. Low ready. Stand by. 0.83. So we went from that talking through at speed of a 1.6, a 1.4, you know, whatever around there, and we dropped down to a 0.83. So it's not a hard thing to get good at. The biggest thing is stay upright. Gun comes to you. Your gun moves to your eyes. What we hate seeing a lot of times is people that do this, and they just like drop down and shoot. That's not a low ready, man. You're cheating yourself. You can get faster, just put in the work now. So we got that, right? 1 second. Now let's go ahead and do our high ready. What we're looking for again, 1.15. High ready. We talked about our setup and everything else. We don't need to cover that too much. So again, let's go at the speed that we can talk through it. Out, prep, press. That's our cues. Stand by. Out, prep, and press. 2.13. Again, stand by. Out, prep, and press. That one was a 1.37. Now let's do it at speed. Pretty simple concept. You see, I'm not just bringing the gun up. I'm not flicking the buttstock up like this. Because if you do, you'll do what I did when I was training this a lot when I was in the military. I about knocked myself unconscious. I guess I gave myself a bruise because I was trying to go so fast and I flicked that buttstock up, whacked myself in the chin, saw a couple stars. But what's it really doing? It's dropping the muzzle down. As you do that, it's going to drop the muzzle down. The rifle flattens out simply by pressing straight out and settling back. Let the motion happen naturally. This time at speed. Stand by. Ooh, 1.16. Do it again. Stand by. There we go. It should be a 104. Cool. 104. Motion's the same. Get it down. Excuse me, motion's not the same. There's a difference between the two. What I mean is get that gun straight out instead of flicking the buttstock up, right? You're not going to cause that muzzle to dip down too much and then have to overcorrect it. Let it flatten out naturally. Clear your stuff. Settle it back in the shoulder. All right. So what will make us slow doing this? Well, easy thing to remember is loose muscles or fast muscles, tight muscles or slow muscles. So I'm going to demonstrate here in a second both of these. But what we should see is, well, let me just explain what we see in students and just people all over the place. They start with that low ready. And they get down here, and right before they go, okay, stand by, and they go, and they tighten everything up, and they try and manage recoil before the gun's even on target. Or they do the same thing from the high ready. They get it here, you see them just clamp down, and the shoulders come up, and they get real tight, and the head drops. That's going to make you slower. And what it's going to do is it's going to cause that your sight, and whatever path your sights are on from the low ready as it comes up versus the high ready as it kind of comes down on top of it, it's going to make your sights stop short because you're so tense the gun can't get fluidly all the way to the position it needs to, or you need it to, and get in that good final firing position. So loose muscles are fast muscles, tight muscles are slow muscles. Now, so we got that. Now let's go ahead, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot it, and I'm going to kind of explain it so you can see it, and we're going to see the time difference also. Low ready, we were about 0.86, I think, 0.85, something like that. And then the high ready, we were at 104, I believe. So we go from a 0.8, we'll say 0.85 and 1.05, right? Just make them nice, even numbers on, fives or whatever. Easy to do math. So let's do the low ready first. Eyes and ears. So they get here, right? They come down, instead of saying nice and loose so we can move the gun nice and quick and snap it on target, we see this. Elbows kind of tuck in, head comes down, and the shoulders come up. And you see everything real tight, and they're pulling that gun in as hard as they can into their shoulder. And when they shoot, it looks something like this. Stand by. Got it. We got a 1.66 that time. So let's talk about why that happens. Did the gun come up fairly quickly? Not quick enough, but did we shoot as soon as the gun was pretty much generally on the target? No, because that sight is bouncing around. So come up here to the target and let's look at what happens. So here's what happened in my sights. I ended up getting the shot in the square like we're looking at. But as the sight came up, it came up here and it stopped and it was jerking around. And then I tried to drive it up and it kind of went past, and then it came back to where my sight was here so I could put it around in the box with my holdover. That right there took me over half a second. Hell, it took me pretty much 3/4 of a second to do that. So we can see that the time lost with tight muscles and just being super tense at the beginning can be anywhere from a 1/4 second, it can be a half second, or hell, it could be more, right? So if we see this, the sight stopping short from a low ready, we know from the high ready it's going to stop high. Let's look at that and see the time difference. All right. Again, tighten up, elbows kind of pinch in, head comes down, shoulders come up like this. We see that curvature here kind of bearing down. Kind of like you're taking a shit or something, which you don't need to be doing on the range. Go to the bathroom for it, and looks something like this. Stand by. All right, that was a 2-1-2. So what do we see that time? Well, that time you saw the gun come out, and where did we get that pause at? Buttstock hit the arm, didn't quite get into place, and it caused us to be a little jerky right here, right? Well, then the sight was way off to the right. It was high and off to the right because of it. Then I had to fight it to come down, little jerky, and then break the shot. So let's see where that shot was at. this little guy right here, right? Still a little bit high. So that went to a 212. That's over a second we lost just because of getting caught on the shoulder. It can be a lot less than that, right? It can be more than that. It can be a ton of things, but we're gonna see lost time. Usually on average, it's a good rule of thumb is you're probably gonna lose a third to a half of a second if you're super tight like that. Especially if once you start training being loose, you'll see a big improvements in your gains. So moral of the story, stay loose, right? No boxer throws a punch all tensed up like this. He stays nice and relaxed, throws the punch, and at the end, they snap and they lock out. So how do we get the muzzle to stop on target? Again, I'm said it 100 times, stay loose, stay quick, and then at the very end, maybe you think of it as 90-10, right? That last 10% or that last little bit, once the sight gets on target, that's where I lock in my recoil management, and that allows the gun or the sight to stop right where I want. That's why some of the best shooters you see, they can snap the gun, snaps, it looks like a robot. The gun's not moving, it's not bouncing, they just snap it from one spot to the other and it stops right where they want. They can apply that recoil management at the last possible second, that's their brakes. Hit the gas, hit the brakes, break the shot. So we just got these rifles in. This is Ripcord Industries. A buddy of mine, Steve, makes these. I know too many Steves, but Ripcord Industries out of Tennessee, Mount Pleasant area. These are phenomenal rifles. Between this and BCM, I don't think you can go wrong. He's got his own rail, patent pending with the barrel nut and all this other stuff. It's a 13.7 with the Surefire. Another buddy of mine, they built this for me. It's kind of like a gift. Another buddy I know, he actually sent a mod light with a little pressure pad, which seems cool. Seems like a nice light, super bright when it's charged up. And then the Leupold DP Pro, you know, just a standard, you know, safety selector, Geisley 3-gun flat trigger, I think is what it's called, SD3G or something like that. And these are the buttstocks I like a lot. This is the B5 Bravo, I think it is. Buttstocks are tough, man. Buttstocks are one of those things that's very individual. Everybody's like, what's the one thing I should get from a rifle? Bro, go get a good buttstock. Everybody's a little different. Some people like the Magpul, kind of the concave, little circular cut in, you know, looking ones where it's like bowed in a little bit. Some people like flat. I'm a flat person. I like them just like this. But I like this one a lot. And then just a sling, buddy from Drop 6 gave me that we kind of threw on here. But other than that, that's kind of the, it's got a bigger thingy here. I don't know what that's called. Boat release, whatever, but I don't know what brand it is. So yeah, other than that, Ripcord, Mount Pleasant, Tennessee. It's been a really good gun. 13.7. I love the rail. It's kind of it, man. And then maybe we'll talk about our new BAER belt eventually, huh?